All right, we're good.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay, so my restart story kind of begins with a change of mentality. When I realized that I was making decisions based on fear, I also noticed how many opportunities I was missing. Whether my fear was the unknown or being judged, I changed my perspective, and this really changed everything for me. There's this amazing speech on YouTube, which you should find, by Jim Carrey, and he kind of summed up how I was feeling at the time. And I think he addresses something a lot of people don't realize, and that's we don't think that we're afraid. We think we're being practical or we're being realistic. Hindsight's 2020, but I think that looking back is really important for identifying what isn't serving you. And for me, this practicality mentality was not serving me, and I didn't have the life that I wanted. So when I changed my mentality, so did my life. For me, the opposite of fear felt a lot like freedom, and I noticed that with every opportunity I had to choose the safe path, I had an equal opportunity to choose this freedom mentality. This is all really to preface my restart moment, because after 20 years as a dancer, I was really burnt out from this pressure to be perfect, but I was freaking out because I had no idea what else I could do. I had a choice to be complacent and stay on this path that I knew, or make a change and embrace my curiosity, so I quit. But I had no compass for navigating this new freedom, and I gave myself real anxiety trying to figure it all out and control it. And in the middle of a panic attack, I gave my life to God, and I decided to trust His plan for my life instead of my own. And within 6 months, I met my future husband, and I was given a job offer in Florida. With this renewed mindset, I had a huge hunger to try everything new, but this idea of perfection was still deeply ingrained in me, and I needed to let that go to really embrace this new future. And I had a huge adventure coming up in front of me, because around the time my husband proposed, he was also offered an opportunity in Michigan. So that meant we were going to go from Florida to Nebraska to Michigan, and it was going to be all out of my control. So I had to just test my faith, and the time I went to put in my 2 weeks notice, my employer offered me a 2-month severance package because they had to downsize. So it was really really big blessing. But as you know, business isn't cheap, and Ben and I decided that we wanted to pay off our debt. So after 2 years of living like minimalists and sacrificing some comforts, we were debt-free, and now we're self-funded business owners getting comments like, "You must be trust fund babies." By taking advantage of the right financial tools, we've been able to travel places all over the world, but this wasn't without giving up other fears, because the news and our family had these huge concerns about places we were going, but none of which we actually experienced. For the first time, I had this hunger for something new, which is why I started Freely Me, my blog. And I was sharing photos and these stories that I was experiencing, and people were responding. And it was around this time I was rejected from graduate school, so I decided to dive into freelancing full time. I'd never been self-employed before, and I'm surrounded by all these amazing creatives, and it made me kind of wonder if I was good enough to do this. But instead of focusing on those fears, I chose to focus on what I knew. And so I started an event company, I wrote about travel, and I took photos of Ben and his friends. But still, after 2 years of a lot of crazy ups and downs, especially financially, I was wondering if it was all worth it, but I couldn't quit because it was hard. That would just make me feel like a fraud. So I prayed about it, and I logged into my LinkedIn account where I had this message from a startup in Kansas City looking for a freelance writer, and I've been writing for them for 2 years. If my restart story tells me anything, it's that there's freedom in letting go. When I restarted my thinking and I stopped being afraid of making mistakes, discomfort, or the unknown, I was really able to pursue my creative passions and experiences without limitation. Thanks.